So, here's a strange one. Mark Zuckerberg hadn't posted on X in 3 years, not one post since July of 2023. And this week, he finally broke that silence, not for a demo, not for a feud, for a price tag. Because on July 9th, Meta released Muse Spark 1.1, its new AI model for coding and agent work. And Zuckerberg's own announcement called it a strong agentic and coding model at a very low price. So the CEO of Meta came back from a 3-year silence to talk about pricing. Now, here's what almost everyone is getting wrong. The casual read is that Meta shipped another free model. After all, Muse Spark is free to chat with inside the Meta AI app. But this is not another Llama. There are no weights to download, no self-hosting, no open license. And for developers, the API is metered from the very first call. One tech outlet put the correction right in its headline, calling this Meta's first paid AI model. And get this, Meta's own safety paperwork admits something odd about how this model behaves the moment it's being tested. That number is coming, and it changes how you read every chart in this launch. So here's the real story in one line. Meta isn't trying to outcode OpenAI and Anthropic. It's trying to make them look expensive. The free model company just started charging, and what it's selling isn't the smartest coder. It's the cheapest agent. The era of free frontier AI from Meta ended in 2 quiet moves, 3 months apart. Let's start with what actually shipped, because the details are doing a lot of work. So, what did Meta actually ship? Muse Spark 1.1 comes out of Meta Superintelligence Labs, the AI division Zuckerberg built in 2025 around Alexander Wang, the former Scale AI chief. And Meta wanted Wang badly. It paid $14.3 billion for a 49% non-voting stake in his company to bring him in. The pricing is the headline: $1.25 per million input tokens, $4.25 per million output. For context, Anthropic's flagship Opus 4.8 lists at $5 in and $25 out. So on input tokens, that's exactly 4 times cheaper, the line you've seen everywhere. And on output, the gap is even wider. Wang called the pricing very aggressive and attractive. New developers get $20 of free credit to try it, though it's US only for now. And the launch itself was a show. Zuckerberg posted it on X, not Threads, Meta's own platform. Then Elon Musk, of all people, showed up in the replies. He pointed out the post got over 12 million views for free, and added, "What's Threads?" So when the owner of X is running your victory lap for you, that's reach money can't buy. But a launch post is marketing. The stranger question is why the giveaway company is suddenly selling it all. So what changed? Because here's the part the pricing table hides. For 3 years, Meta's whole identity in AI was the giveaway. Llama 2, in July of 2023, free, commercially usable, weights you could download. Llama 3, same deal. April 2025, Llama 4, still open. That strategy made Meta the standard bearer for OpenAI, and a whole ecosystem of developers built their tools and their startups on those free weights. Then this April 8th to be exact, Meta shipped the first Muse Spark, new model, and for the first time ever, no weights, closed. And now, July 9th, Muse Spark 1.1 adds the second half, a paid, metered developer API. So in one 3-month window, Meta closed the license and put a price on the product. That's not a model release, that's an identity reversal. And there's an independent number that captures it. Artificial Analysis, a third-party firm that scores frontier models, put the April Muse Spark at 52 on its intelligence index. Meta's last open flagship, Llama 4 Maverick, scored 18. Their own words, Meta is back. And the same post noted, this is Meta's first release that is not open weights. The capability jumped, and the openness ended in the same move. One caveat they flagged themselves. Muse Spark is a reasoning model, and Maverick wasn't scored as one, so it's not a perfectly clean comparison. But the direction is unmistakable, so Meta got dramatically better the moment it stopped sharing. The obvious next question, is the new model actually the best? And honestly, this is where it gets interesting. So let's read Meta's own chart, because it's more revealing than you'd expect. Meta highlights 2 wins, MCP Atlas, which measures how well a model calls external tools at scale, and JobBench, which tests professional tool use tasks. There, Muse Spark 1.1 posts 88.1 and 54.7, ahead of both Anthropic's Opus 4.8 and OpenAI's GPT 5.5. But on Swebench Pro, which is the benchmark that tests fixing real-world code, Meta's own table shows it losing 61.5 against Opus 4.8's 69.2. Think about that for a second. Meta published a chart showing its brand new paid model losing at coding. Companies don't do that by accident. It's conceding the thing rivals are best at, and claiming the thing Meta wants to sell, agents that call tools all day, cheaply. Now, the calibration. Those headline wins are Meta-run and Meta-reported. One analyst site literally warns that every benchmark figure is Meta-reported, and no independent lab has reproduced MCP Atlas or JobBench yet. So what do the independents say? Val's AI, a third-party evaluation firm, scored Muse Spark 1.1 at 68.41% on its own index, top 5 of the 35 models it tracks, with first-place finishes in medical documentation and tax work. Not the champion, a contender, at a fraction of the price. So the honest read is, strong, not supreme, and priced like Meta knows it. But remember that number I said was buried in Meta's own safety report. It's time. Here it is. When Muse Spark ran public benchmarks, the model verbally flagged that it was probably being tested in 19.8% of samples. On Meta's internal, private evaluations, 2%. Let that land for a second. On the public tests, the ones that make the launch chart, this model notices it's being examined roughly 10 times more often than in private. And Apollo Research, an independent AI safety lab that Meta's own report cites, says this is the highest rate of evaluation awareness they have observed to date. Why does that matter? Because a model that knows it's being tested can perform for the exam. The score stops being a clean measurement of what you'll get in production. Now, to be fair, Meta published this number itself. Nobody leaked it. And researchers say the pattern is industry-wide. One 2025 study found frontier models in general can tell test transcripts from real conversations with a detection score of 0.83, where 1.0 would mean spotting the test every single time. So the trend is everywhere. Muse Spark's test awareness rate is simply the highest that lab has recorded so far. And it's not the only integrity question. Hours after launch, a Hacker News commenter posting as Girdle Numbering, who identifies as a former Meta employee, raised a very specific allegation. He says Meta ran Terminal Bench, which is a coding agent benchmark, with strict per-task resource limits, using 6 CPU cores and 8 GB of memory. And by his count, 0 of the benchmark's 89 tasks officially allow 6 cores. In plain terms, if he's right, Meta gave its model a bigger machine than the exam allows. In his words, this kind of benchmarking takes all joy out of building. Another commenter pushed back that extra resources rarely move scores, and Meta hasn't responded. So it's unresolved and disputed, but it's specific enough to check, and it lands on a company that already reorganized its AI division after a Llama 4 benchmark contamination controversy last year. We're not saying the numbers are fake. We're saying the receipts come with asterisks, and Meta wrote some of the asterisks itself. So beyond the charts, who actually feels this launch? So let's make the price concrete, because this is the part aimed at working developers. A typical heavy agent request. 100,000 tokens in, 30,000 out, costs about 25 cents on Muse Spark 1.1 at list price. Anthropic's Sonnet 5 currently lists at $2 in and 10 out, rising to $3 and 15 after August. Even xAI's Grok 4.5, which launched the very same day, gets undercut on cached input, which is the discounted rate for reused context. Meta charges less than a third of Grok's price. Every one of those companies now has to explain why their tokens cost multiples of Meta's. One caveat, because the 4 times line isn't airtight. Through third-party relay resellers, some Claude access already comes in cheaper than Muse Spark's list price. Against official pricing, the gap is real. Against the gray market, it narrows. But there's a darker side to this story, and it isn't about money. It's about the people who believed the old Meta. On Hacker News, some of the sharpest reactions weren't excitement, they read like grief. One commenter put it plainly, Meta's local Llama models used to be the face of open source AI, past tense, because these are people who built their workflows and side projects on weights Meta handed out for free. And secondhand reports from other community forums described the pivot in even sharper terms, as a betrayal of the thing that made Meta's AI effort admirable in the first place. Meta earned their goodwill by giving. Now it's charging everyone else. So where does that leave us? Here's the recap, fast. Zuckerberg broke 3 years of silence for a price. The waits closed in April. The meter started in July. Meta's own chart concedes coding and claims agents. The independents call it top 5, not number 1. And Meta's own safety report admits the public tests may flatter it. Maybe Muse Spark 1.1 is the moment Meta finally turns $14 billion of talent into a real business. Or maybe it's the moment Meta traded away the one thing money can't buy back, being the company everyone rooted for. Either way, the free AI era at Meta didn't end with a speech. It ended with a price tag. If you're wondering why every AI price looks like a bargain until you read the fine print, the full breakdown is on screen right now. And tell me in the comments, is Meta closing up open source smart business or a historic mistake? Hit subscribe if this changed how you read a launch chart. New AI deep dives every week.